go. We're live. Sorry we're a couple of minutes late. You know, when you get people together, and I don't even look at the clock anymore after that. So welcome. We're live. We're at our Christmas All Year event. And I think Bridget is going to lead us in introductions. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn the time over to her. Before she starts, though, we would love for you to comment on wherever you're watching. We're broadcasting to multiple Facebook locations and YouTube. And whenever I do my live events, I always ask people, where are they coming to us from? So we want to know where you are, what you're doing on this fine, maybe summer evening. It's summer where I live. Maybe it's winter in Australia. Just get commenting. We want to see your faces, your Facebook profile pictures, your names, all of that, so that we can get to know you as well. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Bridget.
Perfect. Yeah, and one of the things that I will mention is it does give us names when we look up the comments. It's going to dump all the comments from anywhere you're watching, whether you're on a YouTube channel, a Facebook group, it's going to dump them all into one bucket for us, so we won't know where you're coming from. So if you want to say something on your comment, like, I'm watching from Elena's page or whatever, feel free. But if we respond, we may be responding to a comment you don't see, but it's showing up to us from somewhere else. So don't be alarmed. I don't see that comment on there, and you very well may not, because you'll only see individual comments on where you're streaming, but we're getting them coming from everywhere. So I'm pretty excited. It was funny because for a split second, I forgot that this was the Christmas promo until Elena's video started. And I'm like, wow, I kind of feel the Christmas spirit. It's been 100 degrees every day this week in Houston, Texas, and I am not a fan. So, but what I usually do is I'll save my introduction for last, and I'll go ahead and start with Michele. And I don't know if you guys have the same pattern as I do on my screen, but if we go Michele and then just go clockwise, we can do Michele, Danae, Elle, and Ellie, and then Elena, and then I'll close out. Okay, good. So what I'm thinking is if you guys can introduce yourselves, some of the readers will already know a little bit about what you write. Some will not. So start with, hey, my name is Michele. I make children's picture books, and I like to finger paint in them. No, whatever it is that you write, say what you write, what genre it is. If you write under a pen name, share that. And then tell us about your pets, where you live, and what you do when you're not writing something. And then we'll just circle around like that. Sound good? Okay. Now, we're all going to cut Michele a little bit of slack because she's about to tell us where she's from. It is 1 a.m. right now where she's from. And so that she would not be a party pooper, she said, do it when you guys want to do it, and I will stay up. So if she looks a little tired or super dark over there, that's not on her.
Okay. Hi. Hello, everybody, and welcome. And my name is Michele Brouder. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. Go Bills. But I've lived in Ireland for the last 17 years. I write women's fiction and sweet romance. I love anything to do with Christmas, the beach, anything along those lines. I'm currently working on the 7th book in my Hideaway Bay series, Now and Forever, coming out in September. And I live in rural Ireland, so I have more cows than neighbors. We have been having a hot spell for, oh gosh, this is our 3rd or 4th week. I'm waiting. Pretty soon they'll be shutting the water off at night, 11 to 8. Even though we are an island, apparently the water does run low. But hopefully it'll begin to cool down. I have a dog, a black lab named Rover, and I take care of the barn cats. We had 4, but now we have 7 because our breeder, Catherine, who I can't get a hold of to neuter, has just had her 4th litter. And they showed up the other day, the 3 kittens, and they're real cute. And their names are Tammy, Benji, and Bobby. So when they're old enough, I take them, I get them neutered and vaccinated. And my husband claims in 20 years there probably won't be a cat in Ireland, but we are overrun with cats out here, but you do need them. So, and that's it. And in my spare time, I love to read. I read every single day. I read everything, and I go to the beach. Every 3 months, I make a trip, and I go to any of the beaches around that I can get to. And that's basically about it. And hi, Elaine. Elaine, I saw in the comments, I've known her my whole life, and she brought me to the library when I was 14 years old, and I never looked back. So, hi, Elaine.
I love it. That's so cool. Perfect. Thank you, Michele. So Danae, if you want to go next, that would be great. I did want to interrupt because I'm an interrupter and just say really quick that the purpose of our promo, in case I noticed that some people were mentioning this in the comments, but I usually say it at the beginning. We're having a chat tonight to celebrate because the 6 of us have come together to do something really special. And if Elena hasn't already dropped it in the comments, she will. There are 6 of us that are all offering a free book. And it's a full, complete novel that is not free. Usually, you can only get it free through this. And after we've done our introductions, we'll talk about that book. But I did want you guys to have an opportunity while you're chatting and listening, while we're chatting and you're listening, to go here. And Elena's put it up on the page, and she'll probably drop the link in the comments. Sometimes she does, but I just don't know if it goes to all the comments, to all the places. But anyway, if you go to that subscribe page, you are signing up for all of our newsletters. I offer more books for free in my newsletter after you get this one. So I think a lot of us do. But our newsletters are a really fun place to be. You'll get to know us a little bit better tonight, and get to know our personalities. Our newsletters are full of that same kind of personality, deals, updates when we have a new release. And I know some of you probably already follow each of us, or you probably wouldn't have ended up here. So anyway, that's kind of the deal. You are signing up for our newsletters, but that is actually, in my opinion, a great thing. And then beyond that, you also get this free book. And if you're here, it's probably because you like clean Christmas romance. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Danae and let her chat. But I just wanted you guys to know why we're doing this kickoff live stream while we're talking. Go ahead, Danae.
I just want to say thank you to Bridget and Elena because you guys are making this happen. And I really appreciate that. And I just have to say that this is amazing to me just to see all your guys' faces and actually get to meet you face to face. I know I've met a couple of you, but it's very exciting for me. So thank you guys very much. So I'm Danae Little and I write clean Christmas and cowboy romance. I focus on the cowboy part of it. I don't know, love those guys. But I live in California, but it's not what you think. I live up in the mountains in a very small county, and my town's even smaller. I can just hop up just a couple minutes up the road and we're in just complete national forest. And that's where I spend most of my time when I'm not writing with my boys. We go out and do any kind of adventure you can really think of. We ski and mountain bike and dirt bike and whitewater kayak. And so I'm kind of an adventure junkie, I guess. But that didn't come in until I met my husband. He's the one that instigated all of it. So that was fun. Right now, I'm just really excited about my releases. And I know the book I'm giving away for free, which I think we're talking about later, right? But that I got to put Christmas and Cowboys all together. So I'm super excited about it. My new series. It's called Cowboys at Christmas Tree Ranch. And I think I talked about myself enough.
Also mention, because I know you have at least one pen name, and I forgot to stop and make sure. Michele, did you have a pen name too?
No.
Okay,
No.
So Michelle's books are all under Michelle's name. Danae, though, you have at least one pen name.
Yes, I do. I write under DC Little. It's not romance. There's romance in it, but it's not romance. It's a post-apocalyptic or dystopian kind of survival fiction. So it's a little bit more edgier than our clean romances, but it's still clean. There's no swearing and there's no what do you want to call them, intimate scenes. So there is some death.
And how many books do each of you guys have out right now? That's a good thing to mention as well. Michele, how many do you have?
I have 19 out.
Okay, and they're all under your name.
They're all under my name.
How many do you have?
Over 30.
You guys didn't know there was going to be a test.
Right? I'm sorry, I didn't count.
Something like, give me
30.
Over 30 between the two names, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Elle, we're up to you.
Good evening, everybody. Greetings from Winnipeg, Canada. We're actually hot here right now, which is a nice change. We were bumping up against 100 degrees Fahrenheit last week. Now we're down to a more reasonable 70, and 6 months from now we'll be at minus 40. So I'm definitely a four-season person. I write holiday romance and small town romance. I've got 2 holiday series. One of them is North Pole Unlimited, which is the free books that I'm giving away. And the other is called Holiday Beach. And it is all across the calendar. So I've got a St. Patrick's Day one, and I've got a Halloween one and a Christmas one. And I have a lot of fun with that. And my other series is Small Town Millionaires, about a group of friends who won the lottery. And I've spun that off recently into a cowboy series. So Danae and I have a lot in common in that. When I'm not writing in the summer, I'm very much a knitter and a crocheter. And right now I'm a gardener, and sadly we've recently had a garden invasion, and the intruder was about 6 inches tall at the shoulder, long brown ears, and he just decimated our cucumbers. So I am not a happy camper at the moment.
Yikes.
I've got about 20 books across 5 main series and a couple of cookbooks in there as well.
Ah, cool. So how about, oh, and did you say, do you have a pen name?
I'm just Elle.
Okay, got it. So all, just like Michele, all under one.
Yes.
Perfect. I think we're ready for you, Ellie.
I'm Ellie. And I recently moved from the Pacific coast to the Atlantic coast. So I was in California with Danae, but further south and on the beach. So for the beach lovers here, that was a big part of my life. I, believe it or not, I'm also a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, or adventure junkie, I should say, and surf. But now I'm on the Atlantic coast and it's a little different. I'm getting used to it still, but we also have a garden, and a slightly larger critter took all of our corn literally off the stalk and nibbled the kernels right off. I think we're pretty sure is a raccoon. So we've been adjusting to kind of, living in a more rural area, but we really love it. But anyway, I'm an author of Sweet and Swoony romance. Clean romance, Christmas, cowboys, and rom-com are kind of my happy places. Sometimes I combine them all. And the book that I'm featuring is Summer with the Carpenter, which is a Christmas in July Christmas romance. And what else? I also have a pen name, and it's E. Hall, so just the first initial. And that is like fantasy, paranormal romance, clean. And in total, I probably have about 65 books, I think. I don't think I've really counted. And what else? I have 2 cats, a dog, and my daughter, who's just coming back from a mission, had left her crab in my care. So that's been, it's been an interesting critter to look after. But yeah, it's always fun here in our household, even with my kids grown up and gone. We still make the best of it and miss them, but I've been keeping with my characters and writing a lot. So
Your kids are grown up. You look like you're 30.
no,
Seriously?
no, I have an 18 and a 21-year-old.
Wow.
So, yeah. But yeah, they are out of the house now, and I miss them a lot. It's been a hard adjustment. We've talked a little bit about it in the group, but yeah. So that's me in a quick nutshell. Alana. I've never known how to say your first name.
Elena.
Elena.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm next. I'm Elena Johnson. That's my real legal name. I do publish books under Elena Johnson. She has about 55 beach/beach adjacent romances. They're all clean and wholesome, sweet, and they typically feature cinnamon roll heroes, beta heroes, and hometown heroes. There are some billionaires in there, but they are the cinnamon roll type, where they're just, really gooey on the inside. For this promo, Christmas All Year, she has an isolated Christmas book here and there. And I do talk about my alternate personalities in the third person. So that's exciting. So get excited. Most of my Christmas romance is under Liz Isaacson. So Liz Isaacson writes Christian cowboy romance. And she has 5 complete series of all Christian cowboy Christmas romance. Every book in the series is Christmas. And so that's what Liz does. She doesn't do that anymore. Her most recent series is not all Christmas.
Elena could do one of these promos like 3 times a month all year and not run out of Christmas books.
There'd be no overlapping.
There'd be no overlapping. I literally have like 50 Christmas books under Liz Isaacson. I got a lot. I write romantic women's fiction under Jessie Newton. She has a couple of series. I think she has 11 or 12 books. And I write sweet rom-coms under Donna Jeffries, and she has 5 books. So all told, I run Feel Good Fiction. I am the author behind Feel Good Fiction for the most part. We have one author whose books I don't write, but my brand is called Feel Good Fiction Books, and I have the majority of the books, and we have about 200 of them. So that's what I do. When I'm writing, I write full time. My husband works in the business with me. So it's not like I'm fitting this in around doing other things.
But this is new. She used to fit it around being a teacher, and she's a mother. So she said that, but for years she was full-time at work while still writing a bunch of books. So
well, that's true. But now I just do it all day long. So don't have to do anything else. When I'm not writing, I like to take my dogs to the park and eat potato chips. And did I answer all the questions? Because you're going to ask us about our book in the promo after.
Yeah,
okay.
We'll go over the book in the promo. I think you had everything because you did all the pin names and the stuff that you like to do. So that leaves me. I write under 2 names, but I'm not very good at sticking to a lane in either name. So B.E. Baker is romantic women's fiction and women's fiction-y romance. I just stick them both in under there. So I have a Finding Home series that probably people who have read my stuff have seen. And because that was the first one that I started when I had no idea what I was doing. Poor Elena actually kind of got me into this. I had an agent I'd been sitting with for a really long time, and I met her at a conference, and she was nice enough or naive enough. I don't know, but she sat and ate lunch with me the whole time, giving me tips. And so then I took the plunge a couple of months later, and I wrote my first romance, not really knowing what I was doing. So if you've read Finding Faith, I'm sorry. It was supposed to be a Christmas novella. It ended up being 85,000 words, which is like 330 pages or something. It's not
you should not apologize. You should never apologize. It's a fantastic book. It's a really great book. And I
just didn't really know what I was doing. It's in first person, and it's all from the girl's point of view. But anyway, all of my stuff's in first person. You should be warned. But I don't think you'll notice. It's well done first person. But anyway, so then after that, I decided to write a women's fiction series. So that's the Birch Creek Ranch series. And I just started a new series that's about foster kids finding their happily ever afters. So it's kind of like if the 2 of them had a baby. It's kind of women's fiction-y, but they're standalone stories that are romances with a happily ever after. So the one that I put in this, we'll talk about in a minute, but that's from my first series, the Finding Home series. So and then I also write, I call it fantasy, but it's all set on Earth. That's the commonality with some kind of weird change. So there's one that is into the world, like post-apocalyptic. That was my first one that I put out. And then there's one that's superhumans. And then there's a horse shifter romance. And I have a lot of weird stuff under my real name, Bridget E. Baker. But they're all clean of language and adult content. And they're all set on Earth. It's just not a normal Earth. And then, so what do I do when I'm not here? I have 5 kids, and they range from 7 up to 15. And then I have 5 to 7 horses, depending on how you count ownership. My husband says 7, but 2 of them are leased, which basically means we don't own the horse. We're just responsible for everything about them. And then we actually own 5. And so a lot of my books have horses in them because we have horses. But then I also have 3 dogs, 2 tiny annoying ones, and one that's really well behaved, but is a border collie. And then I have about 30 chickens, and then I have 3 barn cats. And my barn cats are weird if you like weird ones, because I've adopted a Maine Coon and I've adopted a Bengal, which is like 1/8 leopard cat. So we have kind of interesting barn animals that were given to me. I did not pay any money for, but they're excellent barn cats. And then speaking of critters eating stuff, I got completely rolled this year and did not do a garden. But we were out collecting eggs, and we found a rat snake that had eaten an egg. And if you've ever had chickens, you may know that it's a good idea to put ceramic and wooden eggs out there, because sometimes the chickens will peck at eggs and it tells them where to like lay their eggs. It helps them figure out where the nesting box is. So this snake outsmarted himself and ate one of the ceramic eggs. So we put him out of his misery, because there's no solution for that. There's not an exit. So we had a snake that got caught and put out of his misery for being naughty. He's supposed to be a rat snake. He was eating eggs. Anyway, so that's not on me. But anyway, so we have our share of weird stuff. And I also like to crochet, but I only do that during the winter. I don't know how you can do it during the summer, Elle, because I get super hot holding like whatever, unless it's a hat, I guess. So I only
No, it's a winter hobby. Garden summer,
okay.
Yarn in the winter.
I thought you said you did crocheting and knitting during the summer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I only do it in the winter when I'm sitting at my girls' horseback lessons. And I'm like, because I have 3 girls that all ride and my boys ride some too. So there's a lot of horses in our life. But that gives me some time to sit. So that's when I crochet.
I like to crochet in the summer. Well, let me be clear. I just started crocheting like 2 months ago, and I did it so that I would stop working because I'm like a workaholic. And I'm like, I just want to sit and watch this movie, but I can't just sit and watch the movie. I'm like, well, I could be making graphics. I could be on Facebook. And I just work all the time. So I'm like, now I will crochet. So I do it on weekends a lot, and maybe when I'm burnt out in the evenings, but I do it in the summer. I didn't know you couldn't do it in the summer.
Well, I do it a lot outside when I'm out riding. It's way too hot to have anything on your lap then. So I guess if you're inside, you could theoretically do it anytime. I'm sure my sister does it lots during the summer. She lives in Alaska, but also when she's inside. So
Hold on, excuse me. Bridget, you crochet while you're horseback riding?
no, so my girls, I mean, I do ride. I have horses at my house, and then we have
Oh, I
horses.
thought you were crocheting while you're horseback riding. I'm like,
No, while I'm watching my girls' lesson. I go to be supportive, but it gives me something to do while I'm just sitting there. So
okay.
yeah. All right. So I think it's a good time. We usually kind of scroll through and see if we have any questions to catch. And then once we've answered those, we'll talk a little bit about our books that we're giving away so you guys can get excited. So Ellie, did you notice anything you wanted us
I
to?
just saw this one, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that somebody, I can't remember if it was Ellie or Elle, said they put it in the group and asked questions. I didn't go to the group and farm any from there.
Okay.
This is what's come in here. So yeah.
I did post today if anybody had questions, and last time I checked, I did not see any, but I will take a peek right now and see if we had any come in.
So I'll take this one real quick, and we'll
Yeah,
just
go
run
ahead.
it backwards. Well, I'll start, and then Elena, you can go, and we'll boomerang around. I think my I'm just going to address this series because I have a lot of books. I don't know if I said I think either book 38 or book 39 is the one that's releasing next week. But I think my most difficult character to write for me was in Finding Liberty, which is currently the 5th book in that Finding Home series, because the character is a wheelchair user, and I wanted to make sure I got it right. She also happens to be the billionaire in that one. I did not hit billionaire tropes in any of my billionaire romance. All of my guys are super sweet butterballs, and well, one of them I guess is not, but all the others are.
It's
And
cinnamon roll. It's not butterball.
I know, but mine are butterball.
I kind of like Butterball.
Mine are like,
I don't like butterball. That kind of thinks he might be pudgy. No, let's go with cinnamon roll.
mine aren't pudgy. They all have the fictitious 6-pack that
Of course.
has.
They're just not alcohols.
What's hilarious, so this is not a book story. So my husband works out a lot, and he also runs. He runs marathons. So he's probably 205 or 210 pounds, and he's 6'3". And so I do tell people that he inspires most of the guys in my romances. That's probably pretty common, that their husbands are their inspiration. So that is true. He's a phenomenal guy. That the other day I was at a church thing, and I was talking, and I said something about, oh yeah, and we were swimming and whatever. And they said, oh, did you get a lot of good pictures of your husband with his shirt off? And I was like, oh, no. And they said, why not? I'm like, well, he doesn't have a 6-pack. And they're like, he doesn't? He looks super fit. I'm like, I make a lot of cookies. There's probably a 6-pack there somewhere, but he does not have a 6-pack. It is hidden. And so my friends at church were like, really? We thought he did. I told my husband, he's like, I don't know whether to feel complimented or like inspired. Should I be on a diet now? I'm like, probably always be on diets. Like, we're in our 40s. But anyway, so yes, not butterballs, cinnamon rolls, whatever. They're very sweet, my billionaires. But I did write a wheelchair user, and I wanted to get it right. And I wanted to write about in the book he has a surgery. And so I spent about 2 hours or 2.5 hours on the phone with one of my husband's good friends who's a neurosurgeon to find out what the complications would be and what the surgeries could do that I wanted to have happen for the plot. And then I spent, I don't know, 30 hours researching wheelchair user terminology and how I should write it and what's okay and what isn't. And then I sent it to sensitivity readers. So that was definitely my most difficult character from the Finding series. What about you, Elena?
I don't want to answer this question.
You can skip it. You can skip
I just like, and then I researched for 45,000 hours and I learned all this stuff. And I'm like, and I write books that are set on ranches and I deliberately skip over all the cowboy stuff because I don't want to learn about it. I'm like, I don't want to answer this one.
I think the real answer is Elena's so amazing. She's never struggled with her character.
Yeah, I'm sure that's it. Like the book I'm writing right now, I want to kill everyone in it and be like, the end, we all died. Literally, I'm like, do not care.
Not a happily ever after. Is that a fifth pen name?
The new romance.
You have a secret pen name.
This is you need this cup, Elena.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And even if she does like you, if the story is not going well, you might die in her head at least. I don't know, but the reason I don't want to answer it is because I don't know if I have one that I can isolate down to. So if somebody else has one that they want to talk about, I'm happy to let them do that.
Well, we can just, you don't have to answer every question. If someone else, does someone else want to answer most difficult character?
I will.
Okay.
I had a similar situation to you, Bridget, where the main character, it's actually, I had a book come out today called the Kiss List, and it's a rom-com. And a lot of my characters lately, and I don't know why this is, because my husband doesn't like this, but they've been like very moody, broody, grumpy guys. So I don't know like where that's coming from in my psyche, but anyway, so that book came out today, and the main female character, her name is Everly, and she's younger, but she was diagnosed with a form or gene for breast cancer, and ended up having a double mastectomy, which was very difficult to write for a variety of reasons. Also, even though it's a rom-com, like there's real life, and my mother-in-law had breast cancer, so it's like a sensitive topic, but close to my heart, and so that was like kind of, I went in that direction, kind of not necessarily anticipating how challenging it was going to be. But, it's a small part of the story, but it is part of like her story and her kind of having a body positive attitude, kind of despite this part of herself, a part of her life that's been changed dramatically. And so like, that was just, when you were talking about that was at top of my mind, because that book came out today, and I don't know if any of you are like this, but sometimes like a book release will just sail right over my head. I'm just like, oh yeah, I had a book come out today. I'm like,
it's harder when you're like Ellie and you have like 20 books a year.
I'm slowing down, honestly. I'm putting the brakes on a little bit, but yeah. So to answer the question, that was at least recently, that was the most difficult character to write. But also it's a very loving and uplifting and happy story. It's a rom-com. And so I try and keep it kind of balanced between like real life and the slapstick, fall over yourself humor.
So I'm going to be the task mistress here and just say that since it's 7:30, we ought to start talking about our books, and we can circle back around to some questions later. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's go in the order we did before, and we'll start with Michele. Michele, do you want to tell everybody about the book? Somebody wake up Michele. No, she's awake.
Please. Way past my bedtime.
Michele, let us know what you're giving away and what you love about it.
Okay. I'm giving away this Christmas. It's the second book in the Happy Holidays series. Each book in the series is a standalone, so they can be read in any order. And it is about a beta hero, cinnamon roll, as you say, soft on the inside. And he's just someone who's kind of always been unlucky in love. And he meets a girl. Well, she's his tenant, and he has met her before, but she was with somebody else a long time ago. And it's just about his taking advice from his octogenarian neighbor about dating. He's a firefighter, and he really cares, but he almost cares too much. I shouldn't say that. Doesn't care too much. He's just soft. He's always helping people out. And I think we all know people like that in our life. They're just good people, and you really want to see them get a break. So I decided I'm going to write this book, and I'm going to give this guy, it's not based on anybody I know, but I'm going to give this type of person the break that they deserve, and let them have their happily ever after. And we'll do it at Christmas because I love Christmas and romance. And it's just about, and she's kind of she's had a real bad experience. Holly, it's Jeff and Holly. She's had a real bad experience with a previous relationship, and the last thing she wants is to be getting involved with anybody. But he's just hard to me, in my opinion. He's hard not to love. So that's that. Yeah, and I hope you enjoy it.
Perfect. Thank you, Michele. Danae, do you want to tell us about yours?
Sure. First, I wanted to say hi to Evelyn and Andrea. They were saying hi on there, and Marie too. And yes, we can go whitewater kayaking. Just come on out. We'll do it. So I'm giving away the Cowboys Reunited Christmas, and I love second chances. I have to say, that's probably my favorite trope. Besides, of course, the Cowboys has to be a cowboy involved, but relationships are hard. Most of us are probably married women, the readers, I don't know about them, but most of us are probably, and we've had relationships, right? And they're hard. They don't come easy. And I really like to kind of write that a little bit in my book to show that toughness, but that love does conquer all. And so in this book, there's Tanner and Joy, and Tanner is one of the Johnsons, and that's the main family that I'm following in this series. And they have a Christmas tree ranch, which is, really cool. I love Christmas tree ranches. And it's a story of, I don't want to say unrequited love, because they were together when they were in high school. And then she went off to college, and she went off with his twin sister because they were best friends. And then the twin sister ends up getting pregnant. And so this is a big secret she's keeping from her. Of course, that's not in the book, but this is the backstory. So she's keeping that from her family because her family's like prestigious and very conservative, and she knows she's messed up. And so she's hiding the baby. So that comes from a whole different place of, I think, the secret baby thing, where it's not actually the two main characters. But then the tragedy is that the sister dies. And so Joy is left with the care of her son. And her last dying wish was to say, take Caden as yours and go home. And so Joy brings Caden, the little boy who's 3, and he's just so adorable. I just love writing kids in my books. And they go home. And so she's scared to death to see Tanner because, one, she can't really, she's horrible at lying. But she's supposed to say that Caden's hers. And then there's Tanner, who is like, he was like, this is it. I'm not letting her leave again. She's not going anywhere. I'm going to, make sure she stays. I'm going to marry her and everything. So there's this like back and forth pull because once he sees Caden, he swears that Caden's his, and Joy can't say anything but say that he's not. Anyways, it's this big back and forth thing. And it's one of the first times I've ever written something where it's that just come on and tell the truth kind of story. And it was really hard for me to write. I have to be honest. It was really hard, but I think it turned out pretty well. And eventually, of course, the truth always comes out. So, and of course, they get their happily ever after. But I think I'm going to just stop right there before I give the story away. So I'm done. No
Perfect.
spoilers.
That means a good job with no spoilers. And that means we're up to you, Elle.
My book is the North Pole Unlimited Collection 3. My North Pole Unlimited books are novellas. They're about 100 pages long, and I wanted you guys to get something really meaty, so I gave you a duet of books 5 and 6. The first book is called Ben and Jilly, and to the other question, Ben was my most emotionally difficult character to write. It's a mature couple in that one, and his mom has just moved into a seniors retirement home, and there's some guilt going on with that. And I think some of us are at an age where we start to really worry about our parents. So he's dealing with that. But he's fallen for the company matchmaker, Jilly, who's having a very bad Christmas because all of her family, including her son, are elsewhere this year, and she's all by herself. So the matchmaker needs a match, so I happily set them up. And the second book in the duet is Frank and Ginger. And Frank is a young widower with a little girl who's really mad at her dad that he messed up and didn't invite Ginger out. So she creates a scheme to get them together, and that's the start of their romance in that book. And the first, as an aside, the first 2 collections are on sale at half price this week. So if you like the third one for free, check out the first 2.
No, that's great. That's a good thing to share. It has almost a Parent Trap vibe then, huh?
I worked really hard. That was one of my favorite movies. I'm old enough that I remember the Haley Mills version. So
I turned on the Haley Mills version for my kids. My kids watch a lot of old stuff. I mean, I have them watching all the classics from Rainbow Bright and like Care Bears, all the 80s stuff, and like all the original movies of everything, like Parent Trap. I didn't even realize there was a new one out until my son was like, wait, why do we have to watch this old one? And I'm like, wait, there's a new one? So like Freaky Friday, watch the original one. Anyway, so good job.
Thank you. If you want to feel really, really old, Haley Mills was the teacher in the first season of the original Saved by the Bell.
Oh, was she really?
Yeah, it was called, I think it was called Good Morning, Miss Bliss or something, the first season of Saved by the Bell, and she was the teacher.
I did not know that, but I loved Saved by the Bell. Wow, that's interesting. All right, good. Pieces of trivia you're all learning from too. So, all right, Ellie, hit us with yours.
I love it. So my book is Summer with the Carpenter. It is part of a 6-book series set in a small beach town. And one of the things that I really love about this series is that there's a map inside, and each book comes with a recipe. So the featured recipe in this book is kettle corn, and there's this whole thread between the 2 main characters. Their names are Ruby and Trent. Whether like a Christmas ornament is called a bell or a bulb or a ball. I think there's a lot of debate because these are the important things that we get into in Christmas romance. So I don't know if any of you remember, but like Halloween, Christmas, like back in the day, there would be like these popcorn balls that people would hang on their trees or just for decoration. And this was kind of a little nod to that. I really enjoy those. So, but anyway, so more about this story. So it's Ruby and Trent, and she inherits an inn. Come to find out, it was his grandmother's inn, and in her will, she left the inn, like running the inn, to Ruby, and the renovation of the inn to Trent, and they need to figure out a way to get along because, of course, they do not, and have a lot of conflict, about their vision for the inn makeover and all these things. But also there's a little extra stipulation that maybe not, they need to get married in time for the town's Christmas in July celebration. So they're kind of moving towards this Christmas in July endpoint where the town really does it up, and some mishaps and different things transpire, but it all is a happy ending, happily ever after in the end. But one of the other things I really enjoy doing in my books are intergenerational relationships. So, like an aunt or an uncle, or, just a friend or someone that's a different age, that I've noticed that kind of when I step back from my writing, I'm like, oh, I do that a lot. And I really value those relationships in my life. And I like to have that on the page. So in this small town, there's all kinds of, from nosy neighbors to loving grandma types to, uncles that know how to fix everything and that kind of thing. So, that's Summer with the Carpenter, with Ruby and Rossi. And it is kind of not enemies to love, but they definitely don't get along in the beginning.
Perfect. That sounds great, Elena.
I love all the comments about the popcorn balls. Yay!
I saw that, and what a good idea to put recipes in. I saw Danielle say that. I was like, I totally should, because I do have a lot of stuff in my books about like rolls and that kind of stuff. I'm like, I should put the recipe for that.
My books are like cookbooks practically. I like a lot of food.
So note to self: wait to read yours till I'm not on a diet.
Totally. Although my book is called Last Chance Christmas. Oh, it's backward, but maybe it's not for you.
Not to me. It looks great to me.
It looks good. I just happened to have one downstairs as I was digging through my many boxes. They just got new covers, and so I ordered a bunch of paperbacks for myself. And then
Beautiful covers. Hold it up for a second so we can see.
I hardly ever order my own paperbacks. I just don't do it. And so, but you know, when Book Talk came along and everybody was taking all these videos in front of all their bookshelves, I was like, I don't even have any bookshelves. Like, what do I do? And so I started ordering a bunch of paperbacks. And then I realized I hate the glossy ones. I don't see how they're shiny. So I've switched all my paperbacks to matte now. And I'm like, they're way better. But this one happens to be one of the glossy ones. But this is the sixth and final book in my Last Chance Ranch series under Liz Isaacson. You can read it as a standalone. So if you've not read the first 5 books, don't worry. You will see some of the other characters. But this series features heroines in their 40s, so a little bit older ladies. And of course, their leading cowboys are older as well. And they are all curvy, so they carry a few extra pounds because that's basically my whole life is I'm in my 40s and I carry a few extra pounds. And I'm like, you know what? We deserve love too with the hot, sexy cowboy. So
with a 6-pack.
Always. And so that's what this series is. All 6 books are that. And I literally had to read the back. You guys are like, this story is about so-and-so. And I'm like, what are the names of people?
That's what happens when you have 200 books.
I cheated too. I looked before.
I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, I wrote this in 2018, maybe 2019. It's been a few years. So it's a second chance romance between a woman named Amber and a cowboy named Lance. And he's had a crush on her and wanted to ask her out. But she's always been dating somebody else, and it's never gone well. So she's sworn off cowboys right when he's ready to ask her out. And so he finally does, and she gives him a chance, and it takes place all at Christmas. And I love this series because Last Chance Ranch is based on a best friend's ranch in southern Utah. I visited it down in this little tiny town called Kanab. And they had all these different sections for different animals, and they rescue animals. And basically this book has my cow cuddling in it, my goat yoga. So all these sort of fun farm things that were kind of, a thing a few years ago. I was like, and that's going in a book, and that's going in a book, and that's going in a book. So there's some rock stars and they do cow cuddling, and there's some enemies to lovers, and she's in charge of the goat yoga program. And they have a piggy paradise where all their pigs live. And there's all these different parts of the ranch that I really love. And I just love Last Chance Ranch. And so that's part of that series. And I try to make my settings characters so that you fall in love with the place the same way you fall in love with the people. So that's kind of a little bit about that story. And I hope you love it. And I did put the link out, I think, when Danae was talking again. So if you missed it, I'll put it up on the screen because I think Bridget's at the top of the screen. Bridget, are you on the top of your screen?
Like in the
like if I put this thing up, is it going to cover your face or
No.
like part of your name? Okay.
It's like
At the bottom.
like my chin.
Yeah, I'm like, it's covering up the people on the bottom for me.
No,
which
we're all here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it covers up like Danae's name. I can still see Ellie and Elle's names. I don't know why I can't
We
see
have
them.
subtitles under ours,
Oh,
like a
yeah,
second
there's
line.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just leave that up for a couple minutes while Bridget tells you about her awesome Christmas romance.
Yeah. So my Christmas romance was one of the few things I did right in Finding Faith was to spawn Finding Holly. So Finding Holly is the one that is free, and it's book 5. But like a lot of people have said, I have interconnected characters in my series, but all of the stories are standalone. So when people pick up book 8, I get a lot of, it feels like everybody knows each other, but I still like the story. By the time you get to book 8, there's a lot of characters and there's a lot of like game nights and stuff. So I feel like reading just book 8, it's still standalone, but you feel a little lost. By book 5, I think you're okay. So basically in Finding Faith, the main character has an assistant whose name is Paisley. And something is odd about her because she speaks other languages that people are like, how do you know that language? And she's like, don't worry about it. And she's friends with one of the other characters in the series from college. And she works for the opening book's character. And she loves Christmas and she's obsessed with lists. And so you find out all these little tiny details that you may think add up to nothing. But when she finally gets her book in book 5, you find out what her big secret is. And so I won't give a spoiler on that, except to say that in the previous book, she meets 2 books back, actually, she meets a guy who ends up being kind of a bad boy, and everyone hates him. And so I tend to do this a lot. I like to take people, make my readers hate them, and then I make them a main character in the next book. So you get to find out why this horrible person, this bad boy, who is truly probably my only non-cinnamon roll billionaire. He's a jerk. He has a lot of money, and he's not nice. And you get to find out why he isn't nice, and he is nice only for Paisley, but not at first. They have to get there. But there is a fake marriage in it. And so anyway, I'm just going to leave that one alone, because if I tell you anymore, it's kind of like Danae's, where if you've read Finding Holly, you'll be like, oh, the whole book is spoilers. If I start telling you the lead in, I'll just say that she's a trusty assistant who has a bunch of friends that she genuinely loves and is not trying to dupe, but she has a big, huge secret from her past she doesn't want anyone to know because she's not willing to face it. And in her book, she faces it. And a lot of times you hear, or I've read Christmas books that are just sort of set at Christmas. This is not. It is called Finding Holly for a reason, and it's something that has a lot to do with Paisley and her character, and you don't find any of that out until you start to read the book and you understand what her secret is. So she ends up with the bad boy, and there's a fake marriage, and it's integral to Christmas, and I'll just leave it at that.
I do love the redemption arc. That's always a good one when you...
I think everybody likes James by the end. You just really don't like him at the beginning, unless you don't read it in order, and then it doesn't matter because you don't have any bad feelings about him. So, but one of the things that I don't think gives anything away that I think is hilarious is she goes home and literally is like telling people, "Don't worry about me. I have a boyfriend. It's fine." And the guy that she's using as her boyfriend is this guy who she just met at a wedding and like is not her boyfriend. And then her parents are like, "Dude, that guy, we know him. He's saving the family." And she's like, "Oh no, how could you possibly know this random American?" So there's like some pretty funny scenes where she accidentally like used, I don't know if you guys ever did that, but in high school I actually pulled that nonsense where I was like talking to my cousins. I'm like, "Oh yeah," I never got caught, but I was like, "This super hot guy's my boyfriend." I had these pictures of a friend of mine and they're like, "Wow, he is." I'm like, "I'm so cool." I was not cool. So I may or may not have made up a story a time or two. So that didn't seem too unrealistic for me. But anyway, she gets caught immediately. It's interesting. So she doesn't get caught by her family, but she gets caught by him. He's like, "Oh, I'm your boyfriend? Interesting. Let's go talk, sweetie." So it's a fun book. I had a lot of fun writing it. And I think by the time we got to it, fans had been asking for Paisley's story for like 5 books. And so it was, I think, really fun for the readers too, because they're like, "We finally get it." So if you're someone who's obsessed with reading in order, you don't want to start there. You want to start with Finding Grace. But if you don't care about reading in order, you can read it just fine on its own. And then we don't have a whole lot of time left. I don't know if people are okay with going a smidge over, but usually I let everybody go around and kind of talk about their new release. Do any of you guys need to leave?
No.
Nope.
Okay, so then can we start with Michele? And Michele, why don't you tell us what you're working on right now, or what your next book that's coming out, whatever you want to talk about.
Okay. I'm working on book 7 in my women's fiction series, the Hideaway Bay series, and Now and Forever. And it is about the wedding of one of the earlier characters in the earlier books, the 3 sisters, and how everything for this wedding that can go wrong does go wrong. And then the other, it's always, these stories are dual storylines. The other story is about the woman in town who is a successful businesswoman. She has a great life. She's very, very happy. She runs all the social groups in this little community, Hideaway Bay. And they start a genealogy project, and it does open up a can of worms for a resident. And I'll leave it at that. It just,
and when does that come out, Michele?
That doesn't come out till September, but book 6 would came out April 30th, The Chocolatier of Hideaway Bay, about chocolate, which is lovely.
And can they be read standalone, or do they need to start at the beginning of that series?
They really should start at the beginning for the first 3, but then the rest after, because they are about different people who live in the town. After book 3, they can be read in any order. Really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that's what
great.
I'm doing.
Danae?
All right, let me try to do this without spoilers this time. So this is going to be my second book in my Cowboys at Christmas Tree Ranch. So right after the free book, and it's coming out July 19th. And I'm trying to wrap it up ASAP before I leave for a camping trip on Monday. So it's it's really cool. It follows the older brother, so Tanner's older brother Timothy, and he's more of a people pleaser, kind of like a relaxed kind of guy, kick back. He doesn't really speak up for himself. He just kind of does what he's supposed to do, and he meets this gal that comes in who's been pretty much running her entire life, and she ends up working at the Christmas tree ranch, of course, and the way they meet is he overhears her secret that she's running, and so she's mad, like she's like, don't ruin this for me. And so every time she sees him, she's like, don't ruin this for me. But he's just like, holy cow, this lady is like, I don't know. So it's just like, it's kind of a love at first sight, but not really, because there's just so much baggage to it. And anyway, so the story progresses, and you get to find out what's going on to make her run, and you get to find Timothy as he grows into his standing up for himself and fighting for what he loves. I'm going to leave it at that before I go any more spoilerish.
Perfect. Elle, how about you?
Okay, nobody knows this. Today, I just finished the new Holiday Beach book. It is so new, I don't even have a cover for it yet. It'll be coming out sometime this fall. So I don't want to say anything about it, but you will never guess which holiday it is for. You can look on the calendar all you want, you will not guess. And then my most recent release is going to be the series I'm going back to, which is the Royal Oak Ranch. So my last one came out in May. It was The Cowboy and the Pastry Princess. And it's about two almost enemies from Hopewell who end up competing on the same cooking show. And I've got to get started on the sequel, which is The Cowboy and the Constable. And I am so dedicated to this series that I took riding lessons to figure out what a cowboy would do. And I could not walk for a month. But that's what I'm heading back to the Royal Oak Ranch, and you're welcome to check out any of my Holiday Beach books as well. And keep an eye open this fall for this last one.
Fun. We got a little reader inside information.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ellie.
So as I mentioned, today I had a book come out called The Kiss List, and it is part of the Love List series, it's technically a 5-book series. But there's 4 main books, and then there's a Christmas bonus coming out next month called The Naughty or Nice List. But The Kiss List is Everly and Gray's story, and it is a grumpy sunshine. He's a mysterious, has a mysterious past football player who gets sent to reform school, and the main character kind of has to tame the wild out of him, you might say. And they also have a marriage of convenience, and he's a single dad. So I feel like as I'm speaking, I might give away some spoilers, and I don't want to do that. But it just came out today. And as I find I often do, I'm working. I have a work in progress. And actually today I finished my work in progress, which is a book that comes out in September, which is all of my books stand alone, but are part of a series. So the characters interweave, the locations shared, all these kinds of things. And it's best if you read them all together naturally, but they do, they can be read independently. But the next series that I'm working on is going to be contiguous. So the first book, the second book, and there's a mystery subplot, along with rom-com, beach town, a manatee, some flamingos, So I finished that today, and I'm pretty excited about it. So anyway, backtracking a little bit, I have the Kiss List today, the Naughty or Nice List next month, and kind of working on this new mystery rom-com, calling it Rum Mystery. Although that kind of sounds weird when I say it out loud. It sounded better in my head. But yeah, so I've been busy with the release and the writing and everything, but I'm pretty excited to kind of be shifting gears a little bit and heading back to small town instead of fictional country, which is the Kiss List was set in a fictional country. So
perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Elena.
So, I just had Jem come out last week. He's part of my Coral Canyon Cowboy series. So he's a young brother. I write family saga. So it is best if you start at book 1. It is a complete romance, but I think it's their third meet cute in chapter 1. I introduced my characters super early. You get to see them. You get to see their horrible rows. Jem's an alcoholic. You get to see him go through all that, and he's book 7. So we get to see that kind of leading up to it. So I always start my series with my oldest brother, which is Tex. And we get to see Tex's perspective on all of his brothers throughout the series. And so Jem just came out. He's book 7, technically book 8. Mav is really book 1, and I call him book 0 because he's only on my website for free. But that's what I do. And I write these monster 125,000 word romances intermingled with family saga and fist fights and infertility. And, Ellie talked earlier about breast cancer and everything. It's just basically life, but in fiction, we get to make everything okay. And so I really love that. And so I really try to make everything okay for everybody in the end, because that's my hope is in my life, that even though Bridget had to get a new air conditioner today that she was really upset about, in the end, the grand scheme of things, the air conditioner is probably not going to break her, right? So she's going to learn from it. She'll grow. She'll be better. When I have to get an air conditioner, she'll be able to listen to me complain about it, right? Like there's bad things that happen in families and small towns and communities, but fiction, we are allowed to heal it all. And I love that. So that's what I do in my family sagas. They're my big Christian cowboy families. And I tell people they are having a big dinner and they saved a spot just for you. So I've been putting the links for everybody's books on all the pages. So hopefully you can find the series that each of these ladies have been talking about. Elle, I tried to find yours on your website, but I couldn't find the whole series. So I just linked to that first book in your cowboy series. And Bridget, I don't know what you're going to talk about, but your foster kids are not on your website.
I'm good with my website, and my lady who runs my website kind of went AWOL. Like, I've sent her a bunch of messages and she's not responding. So I'm kind of a little bit flamingoing it, where I'm like, maybe if I just leave it alone, someday she'll respond, but it's been 2 months and probably is not going to happen. So
I can link to Birch Creek if you want. I know you have another book and not coming out. That was I'm not going to say about.
I just won't talk about Sea Money. We'll just talk about Birch Creek.
I'm like, I don't want to say the name of your book because it is the title, and I don't want to say it. So.
Yeah, so I'll just talk about the bequest, because my next book that comes out next week is book 6 in that, and it's actually kind of funny. So I pull a lot in my books from real life, as you may already have gathered. It bothered me kind of that there weren't really, I had read a lot of romance and women's fiction, and I hadn't really seen any that had a big cast of kids. Usually the child is like an accessory. There's like a kid. Sometimes, maybe, if we're crazy, there's 2. And I have 5. And so I was like, where are the families like mine, where there is not a quiet moment and I cannot go into my bathroom without someone with me, a dog, a cat, a kid, a horse. No horses. But the other day I did look out the window and there was a horse in my backyard. They're not usually in my backyard, but we have a gate there, and they came in and I was like, that's a horse looking in my bathroom. Why can I not get 2 seconds? Anyway, so I wanted to write something with that. So I wrote 2 widows who were married to brothers, and the brothers had both passed away. One of them several years before and one of them about 18 months before. And those widows don't necessarily get along. They don't have a lot in common. They didn't have similar marriages. One of them was super in love and had a great husband that she misses like everything. And then the other one was about to divorce him when he passed away and has some guilt affiliated to that with that. And so they both get a call from a lawyer saying that their children are receiving something in a will. There's been a bequest. Their late husband's uncle passed away and is leaving a cattle ranch to them, but there's a stipulation in the bequest. They have to work that ranch for a year if they want to inherit it. And it's in the middle of nowhere. So I always set my books in real places. And so, in fact, one of my readers knows that I just came back from Australia. So she was asking if there will be a book there, because I have been to Liechtenstein, which is where a lot of book 5, Finding Holly, my free book, is set in Liechtenstein. And I've been there. And so I don't know. I'm not going to say no to Australia, but I don't have anything planned right now. But this is a real place where I am a lawyer. And so one of my clients owns a ranch on the border of Wyoming and Utah. So I set it there because of that. I've been working on their family trust. And so I spent a lot of time, because I knew nothing about cattle ranching. I have a lot of horses and stuff, but I didn't know anything about cattle ranching. So I spent a lot of hours, this poor guy who I've been working with on his family trust stuff. I then picked his brain a lot and sent him a lot of messages and got a lot of information, which was kind of slow to get because they don't have good reception there. So he calls it his office. It's the top of a hill where he gets cell reception. It's the only place on the ranch he gets cell reception. I totally wrote that in the book because it was too funny not to. So that book, I had written the first 5 books, and I had one last book 6 planned. And it's been on pre-order for a while. And then I had an idea for a novella. And as always happens with my stuff, the novella became a novel. And now that one is called The Surprise, because there is a big surprise in the book, but it's also a surprise to all my readers. So I thought it was fitting. And so that one comes out next week. It's a bonus book that was not planned and no one was expecting. And it is a full-length novel, and it's about to release. And then the last book in the series is what I'm working on now, and that'll come out in August. So that's kind of what I've been working on. I just wanted, and I'm sure everyone will probably want to chime in here, I just wanted to say before everybody logs out how much I, and also I'm sure these other ladies, appreciate our readers. We literally have the best job in the world. We get to make up stories where, like Elena was saying, everything gets to be okay. And we get to write about people that we care about, and people that we love are reflected in these characters. So thank you for letting us write our therapy, write our feelings, make the world be okay, make it be a happier place, and have a job that we absolutely love. And you know what? If I didn't have such amazing readers, having to replace my AC today, or if any of you guys have followed me for a while, having to do a very expensive and unexpected surgery on my horse who did something idiotic in the fall, those things replaced my roof in last month. Those things are possible because I have amazing readers who love and support my stories and who make my job possible. And I am so grateful for that. I am sure that all of my author friends here are grateful for the same thing, because our job is only possible because of you readers. So I can't say how much I love you guys. It's so much. I really appreciate you. So if anyone else wants to have a little close off, send off or whatever, but one of the things I like about writing Christmas romances is that it's like, you know, Elena was saying we get to make everything okay. I don't know if anyone's had this feeling, but after Christmas, I'm always a little deflated because it's over. I really love that week before Christmas. I told my husband, I don't even care if he has the week after Christmas. He can work from the 26th to the 3rd of January, and he's an ER doctor. So he gets shift work, and he usually does. He starts working again on the 26th and he works till the 3rd. And I don't even care, because it's that week before Christmas and Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That's so special. And we get to write about it all year, thanks to you guys loving Christmas like we do. So thank you so much. If anyone else wants to say anything, please do now.
I'm going to totally interrupt because Danae wants to tell everybody about our Christmas in July event. And I just put a link on every page and everywhere we're broadcasting to come join our Clean Christmas Romance Reader Group. We are all there every week. We have a great time, and we're having an event, and I'm going to let Danae do that just here at the end before we get too far. And so I'll just echo, yes, thank you, readers. We love you. Okay, Danae, go.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I mean, when I started this group, I don't even know I was going to go back and research, and I forgot to, but it's been like, 3 years, Bridget? I think,
Ellie, I think it's been about 3 years, because I only had a couple of books out when we started.
Right. It was in the very beginning, I feel like, of our coming out, I guess. I don't know. So it's just amazing to see how much it's grown, and the readers, there's just no better readers. I mean, we have the best readers in the entire world. They're so loving and just, I don't know. So I love doing these events for them, because I feel like it's like our gift to them to give back to them and say how much we appreciate you guys. And it's just
at the event we have a lot of other authors that come in, and we have a lot of giveaways, right? Danae, do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because we're going to have a couple of guest authors coming in.
Yes, we have. I'm not sure how many have signed up yet, but we have space for, it's going to be oh gosh, I didn't put the dates down in front of me. It's going to be 1 week in July. Does anybody have the dates?
I've got
It's,
my calendar.
It's after
Thank
my
you.
trip, so I know it starts after the 3rd because I don't get home till then.
I think it's is it like the 23rd to the 29th, something like that?
Yeah, I just
I
got it at the
almost
same
feel
time.
with the
Yes.
closest burning fire. I'm like, I have no idea. If it's not tomorrow, I don't know.
The
And I was like,
23rd
that's
to the
why
29th.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So July 23rd to the 29th, and it's going to be 1 week long. And your featured author of the day will take care of the morning, and we'll have a little takeover ourselves in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we invite other authors to come in, authors that you might not have heard yet. So you can meet new to you authors, which is just amazing. And we just push and just like open up this world of clean Christmas romance for you guys. So you're going to have more than enough to read to keep you all the way until December comes and you get to have more of them. So I'm so excited about it. And I'm so excited for the authors here, and thank you guys all for coming, and Bridget and Elena for doing so much to make this happen today.
It's also been really
the
fun
rest
to
of you
grow
guys
the
for
group.
Come.
So if you guys have friends, if you have family members who like to read clean Christmas romance, send them our way. Send them to the group, send them to this promo so they can meet us. But, this is interesting. I was talking to someone who said, I don't know why you have so many friends who are authors, because aren't they your competition? And I said, no, authors are not my competition. My competition is Netflix. So what happened is a good friend of mine who said she never read. She's like, but if you write books, I should read some. So she started reading them. And you know what? She's read all 38. And then she came to me and was like, it's part of my nighttime routine now. I read every night for like an hour and a half before I go to bed. I need names of your friends because you only put out 6 or 7 books a year. Who else should I read? And I have converted this person to being a reader. So that is and it's good for your mind. Like I was talking to my husband's a doctor. So I was talking to this doctor the other day, and I was with my mom, and they were saying, hey, what's the best thing that you can do to prevent senility, to stay acute, whether you're home watching kids or whether you're retired. They said Sudoku and reading. If you can get your entertainment from reading instead of watching TV, if you can do Sudoku, those things will keep you alert. And I was like, I like both of those things. So my mom said, it's a good thing I'm already reading. But if you have friends who aren't reading, tell them to put Netflix down for a little bit and try these 6 books for free. And that's a good starting point. So invite them to our group, invite them to join our promo. That's the biggest thing you guys can do for us.
And I'll just say real quick, I think Elena's brand encapsulates it all. Feel good fiction. Like you read these books, and yes, there's real life, but it always gets tied up with a nice little ribbon at the end, which is perfect for Christmas. And I encourage everyone, if you're new to us, to join us for the week-long event in July, because all day long there are going to be games and giveaways and just fun interaction. So if you want a little escape, it's always a blast over there in the group. And I also just want to say it's lovely to see my author friends' faces and hear your voices and get to see you, because like you said, we've been doing this group for a long time. And of course we message each other and kind of are, passing in various ways in the author world, but it's just so delightful to get to see and interact with you guys all. And I want to just thank the readers for joining us. And I love you all. Thank you.
Same.
Yes.
I'm just going to put this up one more time. These are your books. Oh, I got to get rid of that comment. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. Get your books here. Covers us up, but that's okay.
That's okay.
And I did put the link to our group in the chats for everybody, so that went out everywhere. Come join us. We'd love to have you in our group, interact with you more, talk about more of our books, find out what you love to read and what you love about Christmas romance. So really great to see everybody and talk to everybody tonight.
Thanks for a wonderful evening.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.